Welcome to our deep dive into the life and legacy of Charles Camille Saint-Saëns.
Using biographies and historical accounts, we'll uncover the man behind works like Samson and Delilah, the Organ Symphony, and of course, the Carnival of the Animals.
I imagine many of our listeners have fond childhood memories of that piece.
A true classic.
While his music is grand and sweeping, his personal journey is equally captivating. Let's begin with his early years.
Saint-Saëns, born in Paris in 1835, displayed astonishing musical aptitude from a very young age.
The sources depict him exhibiting perfect pitch before the age of 3.
Imagine that.
His formal debut at 10 years old, performing Mozart's Piano Concerto in B-flat and Beethoven's Third Piano Concerto, solidified his place in history.
And his brilliance wasn't confined to music.
He excelled in academics.
Immersing himself in literature, languages, theology, mathematics.
This lifelong thirst for knowledge significantly influenced his musical career.
It makes you wonder how those diverse interests might have informed his compositions.
Shall we explore his early career?
Let's.
Saint-Saëns initially followed a conventional path,
Becoming a church organist.
first at Summery,
And later at the renowned La Madeleine, the official church of the French Empire.
a prestigious position to be sure.
But our sources indicate that despite his later reputation for conservatism, he was initially a champion of contemporary music.
Even embracing works by figures like Liszt and Wagner.
That's a crucial point.
Saint-Saëns' early career reveals a fascinating paradox.
Deeply rooted in tradition, holding positions steeped in classical music, yet he simultaneously embraced the innovative, sometimes controversial works of his contemporaries.
It speaks to a mind open to the evolution of music.
It challenges the perception of him as strictly a traditionalist.
Makes you wonder what prompted his shift towards conservatism later in life.
It's a question we'll delve into further as we progress through his story.
For now, let's turn our attention to his personal life, which unfortunately was marked by profound tragedy.
A stark contrast to the brilliance and success of his professional life.
Indeed.
At the age of 40, he married Marie-Laure Truffaut,
However, their union was troubled from the start.
and then a devastating blow struck.
The couple lost their 2 infant sons in quick succession,
The elder died tragically falling from a window.
and the younger succumbed to pneumonia a mere 6 weeks later. The sources indicate Saint-Saëns blamed his wife for their elder son's death, and this, coupled with the unbearable pain of losing both their children, shattered their relationship beyond repair, leading to separation.
He never remarried or formed another close relationship with a woman.
This has led some biographers to speculate about his sexual orientation.
However, regardless of the specifics, it's evident that these losses profoundly impacted him.
It's a heartbreaking chapter in his life.
He did, however, find solace in a surrogate family with his former student Gabriel Fauré and his family.
Music may have been his profession, but these personal connections clearly held immense significance for him.
It speaks to the human need for connection and belonging, even for someone as accomplished and seemingly self-sufficient as Saint-Saëns.
This brings us to another compelling aspect of his life, his ambitions in the world of opera, where he faced considerable hurdles despite his successes in other musical genres.
It appears that achieving recognition in opera was particularly challenging for a composer primarily known for his piano virtuosity and symphonies.
He certainly pursued operatic success with unwavering determination throughout his career, even facing resistance from the established musical world.
His breakthrough came with Samson and Delilah, an opera that initially encountered opposition in France due to its biblical subject matter.
Think about that for a moment.
A composer now hailed for his operas, initially struggling to gain acceptance in his own country for a work that would later become one of his most celebrated.
The premiere actually took place in Weimar, Germany.
Under the patronage of his longtime friend and champion Franz Liszt.
What a testament to their friendship and Liszt's belief in Saint-Saëns' talent.
Samson and Delilah eventually garnered international acclaim, solidifying Saint-Saëns' place in the operatic canon.
It's a testament to his unwavering artistic vision and resilience in the face of adversity.
And this triumph finally brought him the recognition he deserved in the world of opera.
But as we'll uncover, his relationship with musical innovation and the ever-evolving landscape of composition was about to enter a new, more intricate phase.
Exactly.
Remember, this is a period of rapid artistic transformation.
Impressionism was taking root, and the seeds of atonality were being sown.
So let's delve into the later years of Saint-Saëns' life, a period marked by both triumph and a growing tension with the evolving world of music he had once embraced so eagerly.
We'll unravel the intricacies of his personality, his shifting views on modernism, and delve deeper into the legacy he left behind.
His story offers a glimpse into the heart of a musical giant, grappling with a world on the brink of a creative revolution. As we journey deeper into Saint-Saëns' later career, it's crucial to understand the context of the rapidly evolving music scene in the late 19th and early 20th centuries.
Think of it as a period of seismic shifts in musical aesthetics. New movements like Impressionism, with its emphasis on atmosphere and fluidity, were challenging the established norms of Romanticism.
And this is where we see a fascinating evolution in Saint-Saëns' previously open-minded approach to contemporary music. It seems that as these new movements gained traction, his views gradually shifted.
It's a complex dynamic. Artists, like all of us, are products of their time. For Saint-Saëns, this meant grappling with a sense of unease toward the radical departures of these emerging styles.
So while he had championed the works of Liszt, Wagner, and others in his youth, he found himself increasingly at odds with the direction music was taking.
Precisely. His views became increasingly conservative, even though, interestingly, there were elements of neoclassicism in his own work, which foreshadowed later trends.
Could you elaborate on neoclassicism for our listeners?
Certainly, neoclassicism in music was a 20th century trend, a reaction against the emotional intensity and excesses of late Romanticism. It drew inspiration from the clarity, balance, and formal structures of earlier periods, particularly the classical era of Mozart and Haydn.
So in a way, Saint-Saëns, while advocating for traditional forms, was also subtly incorporating elements of this burgeoning movement into his own compositions.
Indeed. It highlights the nuances of his artistic perspective. He wasn't simply clinging to the past. There was a dialogue happening within his own work between tradition and innovation. However, his growing conservatism led him to clash with certain figures.
Most notably, his disapproval of Debussy's impressionistic style and his outright rejection of Schoenberg's atonality became quite well known.
For Saint-Saëns, atonality, with its abandonment of traditional harmony and key, was deeply unsettling. He viewed it as a chaotic departure from the fundamental principles of music as he understood them. It's as if the very foundation of his musical world was being shaken.
He advocated for a more structured, classical approach to composition, one grounded in the rules of harmony and form that had defined Western music for centuries.
His stance led to friction with younger composers who were eager to break free from those very constraints. As a result, Saint-Saëns earned a reputation as a reactionary in some circles.
It's interesting how perspectives can shift so dramatically. The one-time champion of contemporary music now found himself cast as the defender of tradition, sometimes even viewed as an obstacle to progress.
And yet, amidst this growing conservatism, we find fascinating glimpses of his continued engagement with the broader musical landscape.
You're referring to his decision to attend the premiere of Mahler's Eighth Symphony in Munich.
Precisely. It's a revealing detail. This symphony, a monumental work that pushed the boundaries of symphonic form, was a far cry from the restraint and clarity Saint-Saëns typically champion.
It suggests that while he may have disagreed with the direction of certain musical trends, his curiosity and willingness to engage with the new remained intact.
It reveals a more complex personality than the often portrayed image of a curmudgeon clinging to the past. He was wrestling with the changing face of music, seeking to find his place in a world that seemed to be moving away from the traditions he held dear.
It's a struggle many artists face, this tension between honoring their roots and embracing innovation.
Absolutely. He wasn't simply a reactionary. He was actively engaging with the new, even if that engagement ultimately led to reaffirmation of his own beliefs.
It reminds me of the often told story about his reaction to Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring. Many believe he stormed out of the premiere in disgust.
That version of the story has become somewhat legendary. But Stravinsky himself clarified that Saint-Saëns wasn't actually present at the ballet's premiere. He did, however, attend a concert performance of the work the following year, and famously declared that Stravinsky was insane.
A comment that has been interpreted in many ways.
Some see it as evidence of Saint-Saëns' closed-mindedness, while others view it as a witty, albeit sharp assessment of a work that deliberately defied conventions. Regardless of interpretation, it does underscore the generational divide that was emerging in the music world at that time.
The old guard, represented by figures like Saint-Saëns, found themselves at odds with the bold experimentation of the younger generation.
A recurring theme in art history. What was once groundbreaking becomes the establishment, and a new generation arises to challenge the status quo. And in Saint-Saëns' case, his staunch defense of tradition often put him in direct conflict with these emerging voices.
His criticism of Debussy and Stravinsky, for instance, solidified his image as a conservative figure, an image that persists to this day. And it raises the question, did his resistance to modernism ultimately diminish his legacy? Or did it help preserve a classical tradition that might have otherwise been lost in the rush to embrace the new?
That's a thought-provoking question, and one that continues to spark debate among music historians and critics. Understanding Saint-Saëns' relationship with modernism is essential to fully appreciate his artistic journey and lasting impact on the world of music.
His later years were a complex interplay of personal triumphs and setbacks, professional achievements, and a growing disillusionment with the direction of modern music.
This final chapter in the life of this remarkable artist is both fascinating and poignant. Even amidst the changing tides of the musical world, he remained true to his convictions, for better or for worse.
Entering the twilight of Saint-Saëns' life,
Those first 2 decades of the 20th century,
we encounter a man.
who remained remarkably active and dedicated to his craft.
Despite his reservations about the direction of modern music,
He was a prolific composer right up until the very end.
it's a testament to his enduring passion.
Even as he grappled with the changing musical landscape, his desire to create never wavered,
And his personal life, while marked by past tragedies
found a measure of peace
and warmth.
in his surrogate family with Fauré.
And let's not forget his continued love for travel.
This wasn't simply a youthful pursuit for Saint-Saëns.
He continued his globe-trotting well into his later years, embarking on extensive concert tours throughout Europe and America.
He was particularly adored in England, where he was consistently met with enthusiasm and admiration.
Even in Germany,
Despite his growing anti-German sentiments stemming from the war, he was held in high regard until the outbreak of World War I.
his commitment to his art transcended national boundaries.
A powerful testament to music's ability to connect people across cultures and political divides.
It speaks to a universal language, one that resonates deeply within us, regardless of our background or beliefs.
And speaking of commitment, we must acknowledge his dedication to philanthropy.
During World War I, he gave countless performances to raise funds for war charities.
Even venturing across the Atlantic, despite the perilous threat posed by German submarines.
He clearly felt a profound sense of patriotism and responsibility to utilize his platform for good in a time of global crisis.
His actions revealed a compassionate side.
That often gets overshadowed by his reputation for sternness and criticism.
It was during these later years that his critiques of modern music became more pronounced.
And public.
His clashes with figures like Debussy and Stravinsky, while solidifying his image as a conservative, also reflect the anxieties of a generation witnessing a truly seismic artistic shift.
It's all too easy to judge him from our modern perspective.
But it's crucial to understand the historical context. He was a product of his time, a man deeply rooted in the classical tradition, and who felt a profound responsibility to uphold its values.
His world, his understanding of music was changing rapidly.
And for him, it represented a loss of something precious.
And fundamental.
And yet, despite his disagreements with modernists, he wasn't entirely closed off to new ideas.
His attendance at the premiere of Mahler's Eighth Symphony, a work that challenged the very definition of the symphony, demonstrates a willingness to engage with even the most radical departures from tradition.
It's a reminder that even the most staunch defenders of tradition can be surprised.
And perhaps even moved by the audacity of genuine innovation.
Perhaps it was a reminder for him as well.
A way to reaffirm his own beliefs by experiencing their antithesis.
Ultimately, Saint-Saëns remained a student of music throughout his life, seeking to understand its evolution, even as he critiqued its trajectory.
He died in 1921 from a heart attack while traveling in Algiers.
Leaving behind a vast and diverse body of work that continues to be performed
And appreciated.
worldwide.
His legacy is multifaceted, just as he was.
He is remembered as a master of orchestration, a champion of French music, a controversial critic, and a complex figure who navigated the changing tides of musical thought. His story, like his music, is rich in texture and nuance.
And as we reflect on his life and his work, perhaps the most enduring takeaway is the power of passion, dedication, and a willingness to engage with the world, even when it challenges our most deeply held convictions.
Saint-Saëns reminds us that the pursuit of artistic excellence and the exploration of human experience are endeavors that transcend time, continuing to resonate with audiences across generations.
He invites us to consider the enduring power of tradition.
And the ever-present allure of innovation. As you delve into the vast landscape of his music, consider this: was Saint-Saëns merely a gifted craftsman, or did he possess that elusive spark of genius concealed beneath layers of tradition and restraint? The answer perhaps lies not in definitive pronouncements, but in the unique experience of each listener as they encounter the distinct voice of Charles Camille Saint-Saëns.